closer to the end. We've got a few more things to go through. And students, this one's for you guys, especially you littles. It's been a long day. I'm sure you're all sugared up. But now's a really good, important time to talk about where math can take you into the future. Where you can see math taking you after 6th grade, after 9th grade, after 12th grade, even after college. What are some of those next steps for you and how that can go? So we're bringing here a professor from one of the most prestigious universities in the country, one of the top universities. He's a mathematics professor, and he's also one of the coaches for the national U.S. and International Math Olympiad team. Incredibly smart gentleman, very kind, and he's also here to talk to you about tutoring opportunities and learn a whole lot of great things. So our keynote today, Po-Shen Loh, math professor at Carnegie Mellon University, a national coach at the U.S. International Math Olympiad team. He uses math to devise new solutions to real problems. He's appeared in the national and international newspapers for several discoveries, and these days he's running a program which guides high school students in developing their extraordinary communications and performance skills while teaching middle schoolers and elementary schoolers how to invent their own ways to think about math. So it's not just about doing the math, it's thinking about the math and using it to process. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to stage Professor, where is he? Where'd he go? Po-Shen Loh, there he is, Po.
Hello. That was quite a show. I have to say, I was very impressed by that show as well. What do you guys think? That was a pretty good show. That was a pretty good show. What did you say? They lied? Oh, well, okay. So we can discuss the show another time. But what I'll say is that I found it very interesting that you guys have combined a blend here of serious interest in mathematics and also serious interest in entertainment. I was quite entertained during the entire thing. I'll mention a bit about that later. But whenever I give these kinds of talks to students, I always say, I love doing this because I sort of remember what it was like to sit where you are. So I grew up not very far away from here. I grew up in Madison, Wisconsin, and I did math contests when I was young too. In fact, that's how I got interested in math. It was interesting because I could do every problem my own way. My own way. Okay? I want to emphasize that. The most fun things in the world are when you do everything your own way and when you make your own rules. There's a lot of questions like, what will you do someday? What kind of job will you have? Actually, the most interesting jobs are the ones that nobody knows about. In fact, the most interesting ones might be even the ones that you make yourself. I often get asked, what do you do with math? What's this math for? To be perfectly honest, I'm not exactly sure when was the last time in my life I actually had to figure out how many chickens and rabbits there were in the same cage when there were 30 heads and 62 legs. Okay, that's not so important. What you end up using though is you end up using that way of thinking. So first of all, whenever I talk to people, it's like, what are we really trying to do anyway? What are you trying to do? Yeah. Physicists, kind of. So I'm hearing jobs, I'm hearing these kinds of things that people might want to do. But oftentimes if I'm thinking, what is a goal? One of the things I'd like, yeah, go on. Okay, so there's the various so somebody said this people couldn't hear, but people are talking about different goals in life, right? But I'll say, actually, oftentimes when I think about it, one of the goals that I often express to people as fun is to have the freedom to do what you want to do. In some sense, that's called being a kid again, if you know what I mean. So one of the most important things is how to get back to that point. Well, in order to think about this, though, I often also think, what do we hope that all of you will do? You have all these crazy math skills. What can you use those for? Certainly, we can use those to do math problems. But you see, the world actually has a lot of real problems. A lot of real problems. And whenever I talk to students, it's like, right now, the questions that you do are the ones that somebody else gave to you. You don't have much choice. Later on, the biggest challenge is what problems do you actually want to work on yourself? Because you get to choose what question to work on. It's totally different. My PhD advisor, actually all of my studies are in math, in pure mathematics actually. And my PhD advisor would often guide me on how you choose a problem that's worth doing. Because eventually in your life, the most interesting things are when you decide to go and spend 10 years to try to do something. There's only one problem. You can only do that about 3 times. Okay, so actually it's quite interesting. Which question you decide you want to pour yourself into and try to solve, well, that's a decision you have to make. And the way to have the biggest luck and the biggest impact on something like that is also if you are going at it with this mindset that you actually want to create something of value. This is something I often say to people. You're very good at figuring things out. And actually, if you're good at that, that doesn't just mean that you get to win a lot of things. It means that we're counting on you. We're counting on you to try to figure out how to solve the actual problems that the world has. How do you figure out what those are, though? For that, it's really helpful to understand people. That's why I was watching this show just now, and I was like, this is really interesting. These people who are doing this performance, they have really interesting performing and emotional skills. Good at understanding people, and things that whenever I look at somebody with some skill, I'm like, I wonder if I can get some of those skills too, right? I'm impressed by anyone who's good at something that I'm not. I mean, for fun, once, a long time ago, I even watched on Coney Island as somebody ate 50 hot dogs in 10 minutes. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but what I'm saying is that whenever there is somebody with skills, I actually find that very interesting. Well, I'll say a little bit about what I actually work on, because talking is one thing, but I like to actually make things, and I'll tell you a little bit about my own journey, right? So I started out doing math. I did math contests. Then I went to college. Yeah, I went to college. I studied mathematics, and I kept doing all of these things. But at some point, I decided I wanted to solve some real question, real issue. And the problem I decided to work on was, how can we try to help lots and lots of people learn how to think? That was actually what I wanted to work on. And why? It's always important to ask why. Why are you doing what you're doing? The reason is because I thought the world would be a better place if people liked thinking. There's this whole word called thoughtfulness. You know what I mean? Like, being thoughtful, of trying to do things that might be good, might have reason. And I wanted to live in a world which had reason. And the way to teach this is actually to have everyone be able to, at younger ages, like at middle school and so on, to be able to come up with their own ideas as they're learning mathematics. I was trying to figure out how to teach lots of people mathematics, actually, how to teach people how to come up with new ideas. Well, this was supposed to be hard, because unfortunately we don't have enough coaches and teachers in this world. All of you are very lucky. You're here because you all have coaches, teachers, and supportive parents. But I was trying to figure out a way to try to make this available everywhere. And the difficulty was, there wasn't a way to get enough. After thinking about this question for about 8 years, and trying lots and lots of different things, I finally had a breakthrough which managed to scale to make this thing possible, to make this available at large scale. And this is something that actually brought me to even give a talk at UC Berkeley, Berkeley's Simons Institute of Theoretical Computer Science last month, because it was a new development, a new idea, innovation. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about, because if you do this kind of math, you can do innovation. So let me talk through one of the innovations that I actually came up with. The problem? I always like to think of solving problems by expressing what the problem is. The problem was how to make it so that huge numbers of middle school students would be able to learn math in the ideal way. The ideal way is somebody asks you a question and doesn't tell you how to do it. Then what are you supposed to do? Figure out how to do it your own way. That's the fun part. That's the fun part, okay? And the job of the person teaching is to show you how your way can work. But there weren't enough coaches. Here's how I solved it. I'm trying to teach a lot of middle school students. Believe it or not, there are a lot of people who could be coaches, but they're busy. So I figured out that there's another problem I could solve at the same time. The other problem was, did you know that the country, the world, has lots of high school math geniuses? That's not a problem yet. That's a great thing. That's going to be you guys in like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Lots of high school math geniuses. But they have a problem. Can you guess what high school math geniuses are trying to do? Get a job? Well, what do they need before they get a job? They're all busy trying to get into college. So actually, the country has lots and lots of high school math geniuses who are trying to get into college, which all of you will do someday. And unfortunately, not unfortunately, so the reality of it is that, do you know that to get into college, it's not enough just to be really good at math? Sad. Well, it's interesting. You said sad. It is sad, but actually, let me continue. To be really successful in life, it's not enough to only be good at math. So it's not just about college, it's about real life. You see, math, maybe I can put in this whole world I can call IQ. What did you want to say? Have to be well-rounded. So I'm going to give you a tip on well-roundedness, okay? I'm not actually much about well-rounded myself. I actually look at the whole world and say, the people who achieve the most are people who have very strong intellectual power, able to think, able to come up with new ideas. I'll call that IQ, even though I don't really know what IQ even means, and I've never taken an IQ test in my life. I know, it stands for intelligence quotient, but I don't even know how you measure that anyway. But I'm like, let's call that the intelligence side. But there's this whole other side that's, some people call it EQ. It's about the ability to connect with people and get people to appreciate your ideas and to get people to maybe even want to do what you want to do too. There's this whole other side of the world that the people who are very strong at also end up able to do a whole lot. That's why whenever I watch a performance, I'm always admiring how people are able to connect because they have a skill that I'm always trying to learn. So this IQ, EQ side. And so basically, I found out as I was working with all these high school students, that one of the biggest problems for high school students who are really good at math was how to build up that communication ability, how to make it so that other people actually want to listen to them. Because you know what? If you have all the ideas in the world and no one wants to listen to you, it's no use. It's no use. So, okay. And by the way, it also helps everyone get into college. So I started a new program. I run a program for high school students. I run two programs. But the program for high school students, we find people who are just like you, but in high school math geniuses. And then I hire professional comedians, actors, and actresses to teach them how to be as interesting as the people you just saw here. Okay? This is, by the way, a superpower. It's a superpower to be able to get other people to actually listen to you, so that someday when you have a great idea, the idea will go outside of your head. By the way, the reason I was able to do this is because at some earlier point in my own life, I was trying to get more people interested in math, and I was so lucky to be able to work with a public relations firm funded by a philanthropist, the Overdeck Family Foundation. And the PR firm, one of the things they told me as I was trying to get more people interested in math, they told me, if you're going to be the guy to try to get people interested in math, we have a problem. Because you only know how to talk to math people. You don't know how to talk to normal people. No offense to all you math people here. But the point was, they said you don't know how to talk to normal people. So they told me, you need to take acting classes. Well, so they told me, you got to take acting classes. So I did. I actually spent an entire year taking about 3 hours a week of improvisational comedy classes to actually learn how to connect to more people better. So that's how I got this idea that we can do this for high school students. There was another reason I could do this. It's because it turns out that the university I work at, Carnegie Mellon, is not only very good at math, but we also happen to be one of the top programs in the country in theater and drama. Yeah. I work at a university where we have people who are crazy good at math and science, and also other people who are crazy good at drama. And so I was able to build this whole thing together to have, suddenly, something where high school students who are already very good at math are able to pick up all that other side to become able to take over the world. Actually, I was talking about this at an event where the mayor of my city was, and somebody else came up to me afterwards and said, "You're making a generation of extremely dangerous people." I said, that's okay. Because the first criteria for getting into the high school program, which works by admission only, is that you actually have to be a nice person, a kind person. You have to want to create value. Actually, I say that because I'm surrounded right here by all of you who are brilliant. And what I always tell people is if your heart is not in the right place, you should not be brilliant. You should be as stupid as possible. Seriously. You know what the problem is with a mad scientist and an evil genius? Huge problems. You need to have evil idiots. Okay? So this is actually serious. This is serious. So this is what I do. I actually run a program for high school students where we find the people who are kind, who are trying to help people, who actually enjoy doing things that make the world a better place. And then we make them powerful. We make them powerful. Actually, let me connect this to the whole thing about teaching middle school students, and then I'll have to wrap up the talk, because then I have to go to the airport to go to my next event. I have to be in Orlando by tonight. But basically, this thing I just described here, I just described something that is transformational, and it becomes a superpower for high school students, except it's missing one piece so far. You cannot learn how to get people interested in you if all you do is watch someone who knows. What do you need to do also? You need to make yourself go through the exercise of actually talking about something. Right. What do you think people who are really good at math are really happy to talk about? Math. That's how it all connects. So basically what happens is this whole thing that I invented. We have the high school people who are learning how to get anyone interested in them, practicing their talking by talking about math, to all the middle school students who are trying to learn from geniuses. Do you see how this works? It's a giant win-win situation. We have drama people. By the way, the drama people, we're providing jobs, employment. They're happy. So drama people, and then we have the high school people who are getting to get the performing arts skills while they practice by channeling their math ability to the middle school students who suddenly get to learn from people who are brilliant and kind. That's the idea. Well, here, let me show you what this looks like. You see, I have to show you what this looks like because so far what I've described is all a nice theory, except there's a little bit of a problem with this. In order to make this whole thing work, we got to make it work online because we're bringing together geniuses and learners and drama people from all over the world. So that means we got to do it on Zoom. How was math class on Zoom? 3 thumbs down. It was terrible. I see some people trying to actually do 3 thumbs down. I will tell you, you will not be able to make 3 thumbs down. But anyway, it was terrible. It was terrible. I have never seen a Zoom class that was that effective. In fact, well, actually, I take that back. We managed to solve this. But basically, what I saw Zoom do is Zoom basically taught everyone how to press Alt-Tab as soon as they heard footsteps. Yes, they were all watching something else instead. So I want to show you. In order to make this whole innovation work, we also had to do one other problem: solve online teaching. This is what we did. I'm going to show you a 1-minute video clip of what we turned this whole ecosystem into. Okay, so I'm going to show you a 1-minute video clip, and the video clip is of 2 high school students teaching middle school students. And both are the teachers. In our classes, the middle school students also talk, but that's cut out from here for privacy reasons. So I'm just going to play this and show you what we turned Zoom math class into. When people open Zoom,
minutes later,
they see exactly this.
As we were saying,
they would see whatever you see as soon as we flip the video. Can somebody flip the video so that we have this? And I'm just holding down the button so that it won't play yet. But I want to show this to you because when you want to make something, there's a theory and there's a practice. Oh, thank you, it's here. There's a theory and there's a practice. This is the practice part of what I actually do. We turned Zoom math class into this.
Minutes later. So, as we were saying, they still meet at the midpoint. That's a great point made by Ayush. And then, now seeing this, since they go at the same speed, the green one goes here at the same time the red one goes there. And then 20 times 2 gives you 40. Because if it takes 20 minutes for green to go here from the first one to the right one, at 60 miles per hour, 20 minutes is 20 miles. And then this is also 20 miles, so we get 40. Awesome. So, I mean, Audrey, do you have anything else to add? I think that was a really good solution by Ayush.
Yeah, it's really good. And one of the better things about that solution is that you actually don't really need to know how fast the trains are traveling. You can just use the symmetry to sort of solve. So yeah.
I actually like that you point out symmetry, because symmetry is always cool to see. And I think being able to see it in problems like this makes it more fun and also like makes it more elegant, I guess. But without further ado, Professor Loh, is there another way to do this problem?
But I promised you that there would be another way to do this question as well.
That's what we turned Zoom math class into. There's no Zoom math class in the entire world that looks remotely like that, because this is the combination of what happens when you bring performing arts, genius, like top performing arts, together with math genius into the same room and fuse the whole thing. One little piece, since we are math people here, I'll say there's a little bit of here that's like a little bit of a math proof of why this works. You see, what makes this work? You see, the idea of high school students teaching middle school students, that's not new. That happened even when I was growing up. The one new thing that we invented that nobody in the world had ever done before is that we are the first people to run classes at large scale where every single class has people teaching, people learning, and a drama coach in every room. A drama coach in every room. This is the new piece. And this scales because I happen to work at the university, which has the connections to the top of drama. Right. what does that drama coach do? It makes it so that suddenly, from the point of view of the person learning, they have somebody whose job is to make sure the class is interesting. That's good. That person isn't singing and dancing, by the way. That person's not making faces. That person is giving all kinds of cues to the high school students to help them improve their presentation, to make sure you find it interesting. Okay? Solving that problem. But what it does for the high schooler is critical. The high schooler suddenly gets somebody for whom, when they're doing 1 hour of teaching, they're getting 1 hour back of coaching on their personality, on their smile, on the way they talk, to help them be more effective in all of life. So we've turned this into a coaching thing, into a win-win ecosystem in which every single person wins, and then the whole thing scales like crazy. So these are the kinds of things that you can do if you decide that you want to attack a real question for about 10 years. What I just showed you here took about 10 years to get to this stage. And you'll probably hear about us soon. You'll hear about us over and over again soon, as this thing is continuing to grow up and become a new ecosystem for developing talent throughout the entire country. The scale potential of this is actually quite high. We already have 100 high school students in this, with several thousand middle school students who have learned. But this is on the way to grow into the tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of high school students as we help to give this entire group of people who are really good at math. We want to give you that power to get anybody else to be interested in your ideas. And so make sure you have a heart. Thank you.